All right, people, hello. This is Bob again, and today I'm going to be talking about Image's 1963 series, book number 2, No One Escapes the Fury. I was not smart enough back in the 90s to get these books when they came out. I was more about following the Image artists. And I at that time, I really didn't know. I had heard Alan Moore was a great writer, but my only experience with him was an issue of Spawn and the Violator miniseries that he had written. Which, in all honesty, the Violator miniseries did nothing for me. It was just not a book that I was into at all. So I know other people can yell at me or whatever for it. It's just, it wasn't a thing that grabbed my attention. So, but I did hear, that he was a great writer. I heard about Watchmen, but I had never read it at the time. Later on in life, of course, I came across these and I'm like, God, I was an idiot for not getting these. These are pretty amazing. And I've got all of them and a special thing afterwards that I'll bring up. But this is, again, No One Escapes the Fury. Okay, so we start off with Commander Sky Solo here talking to the Fury, and apparently they have something here called Cargo X, and they're trying to safely deliver it to Laser headquarters. Okay, and usually USA would be the guy to normally take care of that, and as we can see here, this would be USA. Okay, which would be U.S. agent, if you would. Okay. And I think that this is 1963's version of Spider-Man, which we'll see as we go through this. Okay. All right. So basically, Sky Solo is again just saying, we need your help to get this over to Laser headquarters. Hopefully, everything will be okay. And the Fury here is actually remembering that there was an Earth tremor, and we saw that in the episode I did for the first 1963 with Mystery Incorporated, when they were fighting down in their headquarters, and which apparently is underground and caused a like a tremor or whatever. So basically, the Fury here is just talking to himself when suddenly he hears a noise and he turns around and he's got these soldiers in jetpacks and lasers coming to attack. He's deflecting them with his discus, launches it, takes out 2 guys in 1 hit. Okay. This guy is pretty amazed with that. He says there's no way that somebody could take out 2 guys with 1 hit from that discus or whatever, but obviously it took place. So the Fury jumps on top of him here, causing him to spiral out of control and head down towards the ground. The other 2 guys that he had already taken out are hopping into their truck, and they're like, we're going to go back to the boss because we were beaten here and we got to find out what to do. The Fury removes this guy's goggles, so he has a hard time seeing until he crashes into one of the other soldiers. The Fury is, of course, making Spider-Man like quips the entire time. We're like on page just 4 or 5 of this book, and we've gotten like so much story out of like who this is, like just giving us the quips. We're like, okay, this is Spider-Man. We have a small little action scene here that shows you like what he does with his powers. There are references to U.S. Agent, or I'm sorry, yeah, U.S. Agent, which is a USA. Sky Solo, who I think is what's his name? Nick Fury. Okay. We have a female version, and Laser headquarters is S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously. Like, all of this is just, I love it. Like, it's a great setup. It's like an alternate universe of heroes. They're obviously Marvel, homages, but they're done so well. Okay, so this, Fury here is like, maybe I should just let him go. But then again, if I do that, then no one can say that no one escapes the Fury, so I'm going to go after them, and he's just going through making those jokes as he's doing that. Down here, we have the people from Laser headquarters had shown up to get the rest of these soldiers locked up, and then this is the truck carrying Cargo X as we see the Fury leaving on this other truck, the escape vehicle. He ends up punching through the windshield, taking the driver out, and throwing him into a pile of garbage. All the while talking about how rough this vehicle is moving. So he's going to have a talk with the driver, and he's like, "Oh wait, no, you were the driver, of course." Standard Spider-Man type humor. Okay, when he flips and does a perfect landing here, and then we see this other person who is obviously another villain that this Spider-Man homage knows, and his name is Voidoid. Okay, and apparently he is wearing a suit that bends space and time so that objects will pass right through him, but somehow he still has the ability to grab stationary objects and put them on. So he has a helmet here that he puts on, and he's talking about this gun. And he immediately starts shooting at the Fury. As you can see here, Fury dodging, like Spider-Man, all of these bullets. The Fury is talking about how, he's barely missing. He's doing everything he can to get out of the way of these bullets, and the bullets are tearing up, so much concrete or whatever that they must have some kind of a, they're a little stronger than standard rounds or whatever. And he's wondering how he's able to almost predict where he's going. And Voidoid starts talking about how his helmet is actually designed to do exactly that, to predict the movements of him so he can actually shoot in advance of where, the Fury is going to be. Before I continue on with this cracked me up because here we have one of these classic ads, but Alan Moore went in and changed it and made it hilarious. So you can own your own nuclear sub over 1,000 feet long, big enough to scare NATO for over 30 years. All for just $6.98. I think it's hilarious. Okay, so back to the story here. The Fury is getting attacked by Voidoid with this prediction helmet, or this this like AI helmet that shows where the Fury is going to be next, so that he can try to shoot him. But the Fury ends up running away, and Voidoid is just like, yes, run in fear, but you're never going to escape Voidoid. Okay, which is kind of a play on escaping the Fury. We cut to Laser headquarters because Cargo X was just delivered, and we have these two scientists here, and we're not seeing exactly what Cargo X is yet, but they're talking about it, and they're basically talking about how the head, it's a living creature apparently that was frozen in ice, and that Sky Solo, which is Nick Fury, was the one that had to fight some other cold villain in order to get this creature, because I think that villain was trying to get the creature as well. But there's talking about how the creature has an enlarged head, which maybe because it has a tumor. But then another scientist is talking about how it has actual opposable thumbs. And while they're sitting there discussing this and talking about how much they love Sky Solo and how awesome she is, we can see that the creature awakens. And he begins talking, and they slowly turn around, and of course they get to see this creature, but we're just seeing the shadow here. Okay, and they were talking about how the dinosaurs were destroyed 100 million years ago, and they were wondering what caused that. And this creature is what destroyed the dinosaurs? That's easy. I did, and they're just like, oh god. Okay, cut back to the Fury, still dodging bullets from Voidoid. Okay, blocking them with his discus. When he gets the idea that he throws the discus, and while we know that it will pass through Voidoid, it won't pass through the helmet that Voidoid is wearing. So when he hits that, it disorients him and messes the helmet up to the point where it can't predict what Fury's going to do next. So that gives Fury the upper hand to come in and kick him in the helmet again. Okay, knocking him down. He's going to grab something else from his little arsenal here that seems to follow him around, and he brings out this laser lantern. And the laser lantern, when activated, apparently creates several other images of Voidoid surrounding Fury. We've seen this trope before in many, movies and books and everything. Which one is the real Voidoid? So Fury takes a swing at one only to find out that it's not him, and the real Voidoid starts, knocking him around. And just as, he's got the upper hand on Fury, here comes this creature where we get this awesome splash page here. Seriously, I love it. I love the Don Simpson lettering here. It just adds so much to the page. But Voidoid here is just like, what the hell? And seriously, this thing is awesome. It's obviously like a Triceratops, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he's got this bigger head with the third eye and everything, right? And of course, they start freaking out. They're just like, okay, so we need to do something. The Fury here, I think, is just trying to get his own ground, but Voidoid starts grabbing more weapons from his little floating arsenal here. And Fury's like, wait, don't do it. If you shoot and miss, you're just going to piss him off, which is exactly what happens. Okay, that's an awesome panel. I love it. So then this thing obviously can fire energy from its third eye. Okay, so Fury is just making quips about how this thing was possibly Cargo X, and that it woke up on the wrong side of the bed in a bad mood. So he's going on about how he shouldn't be the one fighting this creature because he's just, the Fury. And it should be somebody like Horus or USA. And obviously this is book 2. And in book 1, we've only met the Mystery Incorporated, which were the Fantastic Four derivatives. And then, here we've met this. So, like, so much is set up in the pages of these books. And the way that it's set up, it's like we naturally know everything. Like, you come into this and you don't know anything. Somehow you're learning it as you read, and it's awesome. But he's like, these guys have the, Horus or USA have the power to fight these type of creatures. I'm sitting here with 2 hands full of dirt, right? And you're wondering why he's got 2 handfuls of dirt. But as he flips up into the air, he smashes that dirt into the T-Rex's eyes. And the T-Rex is getting pissed off about it. But the Fury's like, what are you going to do? Use your tiny arms to try to reach up there and get the dirt out of your eyes? Or to swap me off? And this guy's like, you're making fun of my arm length, huh? Well, you forgot all about my tail. And his tail knocks him off. And Fury's like, you're right, I actually did forget about your tail. Okay, so now this T-Rex creature has the upper hand on Fury. And Fury, he's out of it. He's just like, that's it. I'm disoriented. I got to get up. I got to move, but I can't do it. This thing's got me. I'm dead to rights. What's going to happen? And then we get this massive power blast that takes out this T-Rex just at the last second, saving Fury. And we find out that it is Sky Solo that attacked with a huge laser cannon here. And she has her fighting commandos or whatever it is coming in to fight as well. Okay, so they're attacking this dinosaur here when the Fury realizes what time it is, and he's just like, "Oh my God, I was supposed to call my mother during recess, right?" And again, that's telling us like so much of how old he is and, what his life is or whatever. So he's got to run to this payphone here to give his mother a call because it's 1:30, okay? So the whole time that this battle is taking place, we have the Fury running into this payphone here and giving his sweet old mother a call, which is obviously Aunt May, and he's, talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, you sound funny." And he's like, "Oh, it may be because I have a cold." When he had his mask on, so he sounded muffled, so he lifted it up to sound better. And, she's like, "Oh, well, if that's the case, once you get home, I want you to make yourself some nice hot milk and go straight to bed." And he's like, "Yes, Mom, I'll do that. But right now I have to go because there's somebody else who needs to use the phone." In the beginning of the book, on the first 2 pages or so, we had Sky Solo talking to Fury about transporting Cargo X. And I had forgotten to mention that Solo talks about the relationship that would be between Fury and the Fighting Fury from back in the day, which was another superhero. And she brings up the similarities, and Fury's like, "Oh no, that's just a coincidence. We have nothing in common or whatever. I'm the Fury, and that was the Fighting Fury, and we're separate entities or whatever." But then once Sky Solo leaves, the Fury is thinking to himself that nobody can ever know about the connection, that he was actually the son of the Fighting Fury. And he can't let anyone ever know that because that would destroy his mom. And here we have the mom looking at a picture of her son, which is the Fury, and the dad, which is the Fighting Fury. And she's talking about how, I know your father wanted you to be an adventurer like him, but I won't lose two good men to an early grave. So, she of course knew, what the father did as a superhero, but never knew that the son is involved. So he's keeping that a secret, which again is this, so we have our whole Spider-Man thing set up in a way that's pretty awesome because it's different, but it's the same. So we have Aunt May, we have Uncle Ben that passed away here, and then him keeping his secret identity from the people that he loves in order to protect them and everything so that they don't get hurt. So he jumps out of the phone booth at the last second as this Tyrannosaurus Rex crushes it. And then he immediately starts flashing back to the story that we were just talking about. So that he was, Fireball, which was the sidekick of the Fighting Fury, as we can see here. And the Fighting Fury was fighting some enemy from back in the day. And that enemy had a gun, and the Fighting Fury jumped in front of Fireball and took the hit and passed away right in front of his son, and made his son promise that he would do what he can to get rid of, the criminal element. So he remembers that, and he remembers this promise now, and it gives him like his second wind and brings him back, to where he needs to be. And he knows what he's fighting for now. So he jumps back into action. And here we have Voidoid, who had been, hit pretty hard or whatever. So he's like finally coming back, getting his ground again, when the Fury comes in and hits him with a wrecking ball, which is hilarious, knocking off his helmet. And the Fury's like, okay, so I'm going to take this helmet along with some other things that you have in your truck here, and in in your floating arsenal here. Also, there's an ambulance, so I'm going to find some items that I might need to help me out here. So he finds a jetpack along with a bazooka. So he now, again, we have Sky Solo here fighting this Tyrannosaurus Rex when the Fury comes swooping in, and we can see he's got this bazooka, the jetpack, and something from the ambulance. And this thing's like, oh, you think you're going to scare me by flying? I was the one that tore the Great Pterodons out of the air. And so he fires this third eye beam at him, and he flips around it. I love the way that's portrayed. This shows so much, going on. And he flies straight into the Tyrannosaur's mouth. And he says, say, ah. And as he does, of course, the Tyrannosaurus starts growling, and he opens his mouth big enough for him to use the bazooka to trap his mouth open. And when his mouth is trapped open, he drops this package that he got from the ambulance into the Tyrannosaurus mouth. And then below we see Voidoid, who's just like, okay, look, my head is killing me. This is too much for me. There's no way that I'm going to be able to handle this. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my Voidoid suit off. Because if I had known that was Cargo X, I never would have went after it to begin with. But when I turn my suit off, I could just, fade right into the crowd with no one knowing, who I was or whatever. And the Fury not knowing. But apparently, he's somebody who's closer to the Fury than he could ever dream. So that's a nice little mystery that was thrown in there that, we would like to know about. So now this thing breaks the bazooka with its mouth when it clamps down. And again, Fury is using the helmet that predicts movement. And you can see here that he's looking to shoot the disc down and hit him in the legs here, which he does. And when he does, the creature loses balance and falls off the edge into the ocean. Okay, and I love this because we have this boat here who's like, holy cow, I heard they was dumping a lot of crud in the East River, but this is ridiculous. Here we have Sky Solo talking to the Fury saying, good job, but we're going to have one hell of a time trying to get him, get to him without him attacking us in the water. And Fury's like, don't worry about that. I gave him enough tranquilizer to sedate an entire city block. So they were able to collect the monster and bring him back to Laser headquarters, where Sky Solo again thanks Fury for everything he does, and they talk about the weaponry that they took from Voidoid and how even Laser doesn't have anything as powerful as the weapons that he had. And the Fury is like, if you don't mind, I'm going to borrow these because I'd like to take them to a friend of mine who might be able to tell me where these weapons came from. And then, we see later on that Fury goes to the labs of Dr. Kent Kane to show him these weapons. And he's like, of course I will find out what's going on and I will get back to you with that. And as he jumps out the window, we have this assistant here to Dr. Kent Kane talking about how, she thinks the Fury is hot. The Fury comes swinging into his bedroom window and immediately gets into bed just as his mom / Aunt May comes walking in, and she's like, oh, so you were already in bed? And he's like, well, you told me to get some hot milk and go straight to bed when I came home. And she's like, you're right. So I will leave you to sleep and get better. And he's like, thanks, good night. Then he looks at the picture of his father, which is the Fighting Fury, and him as Fireball. And, he's talking about how close he came today to ending up like his father. But he says that, he's going to do what he can to take out him and all the monsters. And I love how we get the silhouette of his father here while he's looking at this photograph and, remembering his promise to his dad. So that was the end of this issue. And then we get, of course, the sizzling 63 snapshots back here of Sky Solo and the Fury fighting Voidoid. Okay. Can I just say, we had an entire issue here. So these 1963 comics, right, are complete stories of one character, one, homage to a Marvel character. And we get everything. Like in this issue, we had the Fury here. We had the introduction of the Fury. We had the introduction of Sky Solo. We had the introduction of Laser headquarters, which again is S.H.I.E.L.D. We had these bad guys come in, and we see what the Fury is all about, right? We're learning that he was related to the Fighting Fury, that apparently was a famous superhero back in World War II times or something like that, right? And then, we have Voidoid appear, right? And Voidoid is apparently a classic villain of this superhero, okay? And then Cargo X ends up being some monster that pops up. And, we get so much story here between all of it's all action, but it also tells so much story because we get the origin of the Fury. We find out all that. We find out like his whole lifestyle, what he has to do. That bothers me because, again, you've seen how I've made videos of like that Dungeons & Dragons comic where I purchased it. You're done reading it in 30 seconds and it told you absolutely nothing. You didn't learn a character's name. You didn't, find out what the story is. You have no idea. It literally, the book encompassed like 3 minutes of somebody's life and you got nothing out of it. Yet here, in one single floppy issue, we got all of that information, and that is just insane, okay? That's why I loved these so much, or now I have such an appreciation for it. Whereas, when I looked at this back in the day, I'm like, oh, well, this is like the classic comics that I was kind of tired of. I don't, I'm not looking for this anymore. I'm looking for something else. So, I wanted, the flashy artwork from like Tom McFarlane and Jim Lee and all of them. I wasn't looking for the stuff that, you know, looked like it came out back in the 60s. I had already read that stuff. So, you know, with this, it was great. So I'm going to be doing all of these along with the special one that comes afterwards. So guys, again, thank you for watching. I'm amazed that I've made it past 100 subscribers now, and that's kind of awesome because I didn't really think that would happen. Now I'm going to do a little shilling real quick, so like you can turn the video off if you want, or you can, you know, listen up. It's real quick. My name is Bob. I'm a comic book artist. I'm currently working on my own title called Ghost Girl, which should be completed soon. It's taking a little longer than I wanted, only because I'm tied up with other things. If you liked this video, please hit like. It helps my channel grow, and I'm trying to get an audience who might be interested in the comic that I'm producing. If you want to see more videos, or if you want to find out more about my book, hit subscribe so that way you'll be alerted to whenever a new video comes out, which is usually daily. I'm doing a new one every day, so you get to see it. So again, guys, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.